So after more than a week, our puppy officially has a name. Do you want to tell him your name or do you want me to? Okay, I'll tell him. Dr. Sheldon Cooper! Ah! He's tall and skinny, super smart, and a wee bit obnoxious. It's very fitting. Okay, go chase the kitties. So today we are going to be talking porosity, what it is, why it matters, what are the signs of porosity, what are ways to test it, and what are some of the best ways to deal with your porosity type. Really quick before we jump into that, welcome back. Or if it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Jannelle and we do all things curly and then some. So first thing I want to throw out there to all of you, if you live in Fallbrook, California or near, I am going to be there this Sunday at the Heritage Family Salon with Mila Rose Hair Care. I would absolutely love to meet some of you. So if you are in the area and free, please stop by. All of the information for the event, dates, times, all of that fun stuff will be down on the description. So make sure and take a look. All right, let's jump into porosity. So first thing is, what is porosity when we're talking about your hair? Porosity is simply referring to your hair's ability to absorb and maintain moisture. That is it. Your hair's ability to absorb and maintain moisture. It is as simple as that. Obviously, understanding that takes a little bit. It didn't just click for me right away either. So we're gonna talk about it. What are the different types of porosity? So there is low porosity, normal porosity, and high porosity. Now, what does that mean? High, normal, and low porosity is visually talking about how much or how little your cuticle is raised. So dealing with high porosity hair, as you can see, the cuticle is very lifted. Normal porosity hair, it's like not too lifted and it's not too tight. So with low porosity hair, the cuticle is very, very tight. So we know how our cuticle is, but why does that matter? Well, let me tell you. So porosity refers to how our hair absorbs and maintains moisture. So let me ask, if you look at the three porosity types and you think, okay, I'm going to moisturize, which hair strand do you think is going to be the most easy to moisturize? Comment below. If you guessed that high porosity hair was the most easy to moisturize, you are right. So now let me ask you, as far as maintaining moisture, which hair strand do you think once moisturized, so let's just say all three hair strands are properly moisturized, which strand is going to maintain that moisture the longest? Did you guess low porosity hair? Ding, 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 ding. You're probably right. Obviously, keep in mind that none of these are absolutes, right? This is just a general, and I'm going to continue talking to you generally. So if it doesn't apply, out the window, it's okay. That's fine. So hopefully, oh, there's Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse, say hi. Aw, handsome boy. So hopefully already porosity is starting to make a little bit more sense, and also why it matters. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to keep the focus on low and high, because in my opinion, normal porosity hair tends to be able to go back and forth between the needs of both, and it really just boils down to the individual at that point. So moving forward, we're gonna continue talking about low and high porosity. So what determines a person's porosity type? Well, the health of your hair is a big factor. Does your hair have any heat or chemical damage, any environmental damage, manipulation damage? Aging and or gray hairs can have a factor on porosity. And of course, your genetics can play a big role in determining your porosity type. And also, just to add, one person can have multiple porosity types. So what are the signs you have one porosity type over the other? So let's talk about high porosity first. So first of all, if your hair dries extremely quickly, you are very likely to have high porosity hair. So I pointed out earlier how easy it might be for high porosity hair to absorb moisture. It's also just as easy for high porosity hair to release the moisture. If your hair is damaged, has been chemically treated, or just general damage, you likely have high porosity hair. If you feel like your hair is dry on a regular basis, if it lacks elasticity and tangles really easily, those are also signs that you have high porosity hair. Signs of low porosity hair: a really long drying time, and I'm talking hours. If it takes a long time to get wet. In the shower, if you wet your hair and it takes a minute or two to really saturate your hair, you likely have low porosity hair. If you experience buildup easily, if products sit on your hair and you experience weighed down curls very easily, you likely have low porosity hair. Your hair loves clarifying, you likely have low porosity hair. As I mentioned, if one of the signs you have low porosity hair is if it takes a long time for your hair to get wet. See how our cuticle on the low porosity hair strand is laying so flat on the hair shaft? That makes it harder for your hair to actually absorb the moisture, so it takes a little bit more work to get it in there. So again, keep in mind, none of those signs are definite, they are just really good rules of general thumb. So we know signs of porosity, but what ways are there to test it? Well, I know of, and I'm going to share 3 at-home simple tests that you can do yourself at home. So really quickly, we're gonna go over the float test, then the slide test, and then the spray bottle test. So first thing we're gonna do is the float test. Not an absolute, but the reason I'm sharing it with you and the reason I like it is because I think it is a way to visually understand porosity. When I first figured out and actually like tangibly understood what porosity meant and how it applied to my hair, it was because I had done this float test. So all you have to do is find a round bowl. You want it to be as wide as possible, and then you are going to fill it with preferably purified water. Then you want to use a clean hair strand. Clean. I'm not, for the sake of this video, because I'm here recording and I didn't just get out of the shower, and I've done it and I don't need it. But you do want a clean strand. What I recommend is when you are done shampooing or cleansing, whatever cleansing you do in the shower, put your strands on the wall, save them, and then come back and do this test once you're out. Keep in mind, if you do this with like product in your hair, less likely to give you accurate results. Okay, so I just pulled a few strands. I'm going to set them on top. I'm going to initially just kind of let them dangle, and then I'm going to gently press them down. Reason to do this is to break up surface tension in the water. And now we're gonna let it sit for 4 to 5 minutes, and we're going to watch and see what our hair does. Just kidding, I'm not really gonna sit here for 4 minutes. So possible outcomes. It is going to completely float on the surface of the water. This is going to indicate, what do you think it's gonna indicate? Oh, a hair strand that does not absorb moisture easily. Would that be low porosity hair? Ding, 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 we have a winner. So if it floats on the surface for a few minutes, you likely have low porosity hair. So then if it floats down a little bit but doesn't completely sink, you most likely have normal porosity hair. And if it goes right down to the bottom, you have high porosity hair. You've all been with me for a little bit, you know that the reason I'm like on this hair journey is because I did a ton of bleach damage to my hair, and I've been having to bounce back from that. Well, when I first did this porosity test, I had about, it was like beige highlights, right? So I had about this much that was my natural color or it dyed darker, and then the rest of it was bleached. When I first put it into a cup, after about 5 minutes, the dark portion of my hair stayed on the top and the light portion went as far down as it possibly could. So, which also points out that you can also have multiple porosity types on the same hair strand. Same head of hair, same hair strand, right? But this visually showed me where my problem was at. Also demonstrated, you know, that damage for me meant higher porosity hair. So again, just to reiterate on that test, if your hair is floating on the surface of the water, it is likely low porosity hair. If it's in the middle or kind of in between the top and the middle, it is most likely normal. And if it sinks to the bottom, you likely have high porosity hair. Next, we are going to do the slide test. This is easy. So you're going to take a hair strand. Doesn't matter which one, you can do multiple. Same either way, just pick a hair strand. So we're just going to take our fingers and we're going to slide up the hair strand. If you feel bumps, knots, anything, you likely have higher porosity hair. If it is smooth, low porosity hair. The bottom of my hair where I still have a little bit of damage and some split ends, I can definitely feel more bumps and ridges, whereas up towards the top, completely smooth. So again, if you take a strand, slide your fingers from the bottom up. If it's smooth, likely low porosity. If you're feeling bumps, something that doesn't feel smooth, you likely have higher porosity hair. Next and last up, we have the spray bottle test. Like my curly girl vibes spray bottle? I love it too. Aerosol, Flairosol sprayer. Okay, so for the spray test, another super easy test. So pick a hair strand. I'm gonna use a gray hair strand. A, out of curiosity, because I've never tested one of my gray hair strands, and B, because I think you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so all you have to do for this test is literally spray your hair. So you're going to want to watch your hair and see what happens. If you see beading on your hair is likely low porosity. So if it's beading, you likely have low porosity hair. If it absorbs right in, you likely have high porosity hair. And then just to throw this out there, if it beads but then absorbs pretty quickly, you likely have a normal porosity hair. No, Sheldon, there's Chloe. Okay, so now we know what porosity means, what it looks like, ways to test it. So now let's talk best practices for your porosity type. Some tips and tricks and styling methods that likely work best for the specific porosity type. Following with the trend and starting off with high porosity. So first and foremost is you need to deep condition regularly. Just as your hair absorbs moisture really easily, it lets it go just as easy. And if your high porosity is a result of heat damage, chemical damage, damage of any kind, your hair is more likely to be dry on a consistent basis. And it not only needs to be moisturized, but it needs products and methods that are going to help keep that moisture in. So deep conditioners, in my opinion, are going to be one of your best friends. I personally highly suggest also becoming best friends with a really good leave-in. Another tip, when you finish showering, rinse your hair with cold water, and this will help seal the cuticle. If you have high porosity hair, it is more likely that you need protein on a regular basis. Keep in mind, it doesn't always have to be a protein treatment, but you can also use stylers that contain protein and get your regular protein from that. If you need some tips on protein stylers, check out my protein video. I'll put it up here and in the description. If you have high porosity hair, you should stay away from heat. When detangling high porosity hair, you should always do so when it is wet with a conditioner or with a pre-poo. Do not ever detangle high porosity hair while it is dry. Because it is high porosity, it is already more susceptible to damage and breaking, and we don't wanna do that. So you are also going to wanna stay away from drying ingredients, drying alcohols, but specifically harsh shampoos. You're gonna wanna keep it as gentle as possible. So there's just a few tips for high porosity hair. If you have more, if I missed your favorite, please drop them down below. Help out your curl friends. Also know, I don't have high porosity hair, so these are just things that I have learned from my friends and research, right? But now we're gonna get into my territory, low porosity hair. So if you have low porosity hair, in my opinion, you are more likely to benefit from damp styling. So you're also more likely to need lightweight products, but then also lightweight application. I have found personally, and I have read in general, that low porosity hair tends to need less product, otherwise it is more likely to be weighed down. Heat is actually a friend of a low porosity curly. So we talked earlier about the cuticle laying extremely tight with low porosity hair. Heat is your best friend because it will actually help lift that cuticle so that your hair strand can actually take in that moisture and the nutrition that it needs and you want it to have from your deep conditioning and whatever other treatments, stylers, etc. Infrequent protein treatments, yes. So protein is more likely to just sit on the strand when you have low porosity hair instead of penetrating, which can actually make the hair more dry, weighed down, brittle, etc. So you're gonna need protein less often. Also, another shower trick, I personally, as a low porosity curly, do not put cold water on my hair. Every time I have in the past, my hair is extremely flat and limp and I cannot get anything, not products, anything to help, and it is because it closes my already tightly closed cuticles. So highly recommend, if you have low porosity hair, not to use cold water. So I know some of you are probably gonna be like, okay, well, what the hell, what products am I getting? Why are there no products? Well, I'm not including products in this video. What I am going to do is I'm going to link some of my personal favorite low porosity products down in the description box. I will link my favorite product video here, as well as in the description. It is a very, very detailed video on my favorite products. I have low porosity hair. I go into what I use, when and why, etc. And for high porosity hair, I don't have high porosity hair and I don't really want to recommend anything to you that I haven't experienced. But here's what I am going to do. Her name is Verna and she is on Instagram, has her own website, and this woman is a science wealth of knowledge. She just recently did multiple posts on best products for normal porosity, best products for high, and best products for low, and it is extensive list. So I am going to link her information in the description, so make sure and check that out. But all right, that's it. Do you understand porosity? So let's quick recap. What is porosity? Porosity is how the hair absorbs and maintains moisture. High porosity hair absorbs moisture very easily but loses it just as easily. Low porosity hair does not absorb moisture easy, and it takes some work to get it in there, but once it's in there, it holds on. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Jannelle and we do all things curly and then some. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Go slam that subscribe button, hit that bell while you're at it to turn on post notifications so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you next time. Bye. One more thing, if you like this video, please do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Okay, bye for real now.